Back to say what? Heated conversation going to happen here. I think paka mitambo amesema, hey, hii ni mwecheche kabisa. So we are joined by Sh.Abdullahi and Pastor Sue for this very engaging conversation. We want to understand why many young people are moving away from their inherited faith. And I think the first place for us to begin is knowing and believing. I think that's where there's a big debate on people want to know, not just believe. What is your definition of knowing and believing as pertains your faith? Let's start with you, Sheikh.
The definition of knowing and believing as per our faith in Islam actually is that to know something is not just enough to make you perceive it or have a certainty in it. So when you cannot, the first thing is to know. Knowing something is first. We keep it in the front line. And then later on, you come to believe. Because if you believe without knowledge and understanding, then your faith may not be strong. In other words, the Holy Quran itself teaches us that أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ. Why do they not ponder over the Holy Quran, over the teachings? So it gives us the intention that you have to first to understand or to know something before you believe, because empty belief will not bear good fruits. Mm-hmm. You may not be able to act upon your faith if you don't have a proper understanding of that faith.
And I'm seeing Pastor Sue here agreeing and nodding as well. What are your thoughts, Pastor Sue?
Yeah, I think I would just agree with what Sheikh has said. There's a difference between knowing and believing. Knowing is general. Like the way I know I'm a woman and I know Sheikh is a man. So that's general. But when it comes to believing, you have to be subjected to the right knowledge for you to develop a kind of a faith towards the knowledge that you have received. And so most of the people, and that's why you're finding our young people want to deviate away, is because they have no knowledge, the right knowledge on the doctrine. Because it is out of the doctrine that you develop faith and the conviction within your heart, and you follow your belief. But when you know something, you can know it generally, but you don't have the depth of it. And when you don't have the depth of it, then you kind of like, you can swerve. Knowing is more of the mind level. It's in the mind level, it's in the logical, it is in the intellectual level. But when it comes to believing is an issue of your heart. Remember the way God has created us, man is a spirit being, possessing a mind and living in a body. We are 3 in 1. So the part of the mind is what knows generally, but the belief is your spirit, and that part is the image of God in every person. The part in you that wants to worship, the part in you that wants to know, if you are a Muslim, the Quran, the part in you that wants to know the word of God. You want to get deeper, not just the shallow knowledge about God. I think that's what brings the difference. So now, knowing is more of the intellectual, the mind level, the faculty of the mind. But when it comes to believing, it is an issue of the heart, because the conviction comes from within. And you know, this is what you want to follow. And when you follow it, there's that inner satisfaction, because every human being, the way we are created, we have that vacuum, that emptiness. Until a deity fills that vacuum, there is nothing you can be in this world that gives you that satisfaction. So I agree with what Sheikh is saying.
So what I'm hearing is that people need more than just, people need to deep into the knowledge for them to actually have the understanding and have that believing.
Oh yes.
I'd like to add something there.
Yes, please.
You see, even knowledge, knowing something, there are 3 steps for knowing something.
Yes.
Because sometimes you have the knowledge of understanding something, realization only. Then another step is when you see it by your own eyes. And the third stage is when now you perceive it, you feel it by your body or your hand. For instance, you can see smoke somewhere. You may just, smoke is a sign of fire. So before you are sure that is fire, you are not sure exactly what kind of fire is it. So you go again to see it. When you see the fire burning, still you have known that it is fire, but you are not sure that is this burning. So when you put your hand inside,
Hello.
and it gets burnt, then that's the time now you understand that
I
that's
love
real
that
fire.
analogy.
Now you get to know the repercussions of it. But you are raising young
Yes.
men and women, and
Yes.
I want to believe that you're raising young men and women. And
Yes.
my question to you is, why do you think at this point there's a generation of people who are moving away from this faith that we grew up with and perhaps we did not question, and now they are questioning and asking all these they want that understanding probably over and above the knowing. They want to be able to transcend to the believing. Is it perhaps they're not getting the responses that they need? Are they asking questions that our religious communities or our faith-based communities are not providing answers to? What has been your experience?
Okay. Actually, we can see, ignorance is the mother of evils. So at times, you see, if people are not well informed, then in their minds, so many questions arise. And in this generation of ours, there's so much, interference from the social media. We have also there's economic pressure. We have also problems like personal. People want to think personally, individually. They don't want to be given any, to be given any information from somebody else. And the other thing is that these young generations, they are intermingling with so many other academics, whereas they are taught different ways of life. And also we can see that in some places, the young generation especially, they also involve themselves in so many other, we can say, peer pressure. And the knowledge is so diverse nowadays, it's not like before. So people are so much informed. But the reality is that if we as parents or guardians, the best the best way of approach is that we should be able to listen to their arguments. We should be able to inform them the reality, because religion as it is not something which is unpracticable. No, it can be practiced, but in it there are some steps to be followed. You see, you cannot take these young people and say that now your father is a Muslim, your father is a Christian, so you be so. Because now they are passing through an age, an era, whereby we can see there's a lot of pressure from behind. So they need a proper guidance. They need proper guidance. And also, as guardians, we should, whatever we teach, we should act upon. That we should reflect before them the good morals before them. But if we shall teach something and do the opposite of it, then automatically questions arise.
Let me clutch on that point right there, because we've seen a lot of clergymen preaching water, drinking wine.
Oh, yes.
Could this be one of the reasons why young people feel they need to separate themselves from their religion because of what they may term as hypocrisy?
Yes, it's very true, Wakio, because the first trainer of any child is the mother and the father. And so when you find the mother has no, or the father does not, what he says is not what he does, then it confuses the child. Remember, our children learn by observation. It is not what you tell them. They observe your character, they observe your language, they observe what are your priorities. The priority of my life as a mother to my children will be their priority. If they see that I spend a lot of time in the business and have no time to go to church, then they will think business is number one, because children learn by observing. If they see the father always in the bar, drinking, womanizing, they think this is the life, because we are the first, role models to our children. And so when we have double standards, in the sense that the Pastor Sue in the church is not the Pastor Sue at home, that brings confusion. And the children wonder, who do they follow? Do they follow the Pastor Sue in the church, or do they follow the Pastor Sue at home? And home speaks more. And that's why if it is not working at home, don't export it. It will not work to your children. So we need to understand that we parents play a very big role to our children. It is said that train up a child in the way he should go. Who is training? Not the teacher. not my neighbor, not my anybody. It is I, the parent, I, the mother, I, the father. I must take that personal responsibility and teach my children the norms of this family. In this family, we respect elderly people. In this family, we are not rude. In this family, we are this and this. Those things must be practiced as they see. Even me and my husband, they should see a loving mother and a caring dad. Those things are the ones that mold the faith of a child, because the only time you can influence your children is between 3 years, around 3 years, 4 years to 12 years. And I want to thank the Muslims, because they are really very serious with that age, because that's where the belief, the knowing and the belief comes together. And now the person does not just know, they walk in belief. But us who are Christians, we are a bit reluctant. We tend to train our children when they are teenage. And when they are teenage, they have already formed their opinion. And so that begins...
angali mbichi.
Mbichi, thank you. So I think this is something that is a challenge to the clergy, in the sense that when we go to the mosque and when we go to the church, let us teach the people Quran. Let us teach people the Bible. Don't go to give stories. I was in Mombasa, I was in America, I acquired this. Those things don't build faith. And so you find there's a lot we talk because of coming from a poor background, which kind of like when we think we are blessed, those are the things we bring in the church. But what has that to do with the faith of a person? I think we need to have time when we have Bible studies, Quran studies, if there's something like that, where people are taught, those madrasas, they are taught exactly what Quran says. We also have Bible studies where we teach the people the word, so that now their faith can grow, because the interpretation of faith comes through hearing. When you hear, then faith is built within you. And when faith is built in you, it becomes a belief, it becomes a norm, it becomes your lifestyle. And that's where now you get your character. Remember, the faith of a person interprets everything about them. Your language, your manners, your character, how you spend money, who you will marry. And that's why it's very important. I keep saying this. If you are a Muslim, marry a Muslim. If you are a Christian, marry a Christian. So that now your faith interprets the same. Because if I'm married to a Muslim, or my husband is a Christian and I'm a Muslim, then there's going to be a conflict. Whose God will they believe?
But I think that's the question right there, and I think a lot of young people are asking, why do we have all these many religions if we are preaching one good thing? Because it almost feels like for the world to propel or to move forward, there must be conflict. And it's starting from, simple things as, why do we have a lot of sports? Why do we have a lot of competitions? We have the general election coming up. I think we, as a human being, are we flourishing in the environment of conflict? Is that what we have been created to be?
Actually, we have not been created for that purpose, to create conflicts and so forth. Because, you see, a human being, the word insan, a human being, it reflects two things. That is love between one person to the other. And again, love to your creator. You have love for your creator. So you cannot be a complete human being when you don't have love first for your creator and then for your fellow human beings. Wonderful. So the problem is that people have drifted away from, the religious teachings. And as we said earlier, it is because sometimes people they're trying to make people, to force people into a religion, into a certain faith. But they are not trying to explain to them what actually is the meaning of this faith. And if you follow this faith, what will you attain? You see now. So you can tell people to fast, maybe tell people to pray. But you may not tell them the wisdom behind praying, the wisdom behind fasting. So people just do things because of imitation. They are not doing it from the core of their heart through understanding, reason, and even proper reflection.
And that's the disconnect right there, because if you're not praying in a methodology, there seems to be like the methodology towards approaching prayer. If you're not using it, then you're not getting the results, and then that brings a lot of frustration, and then you move away from it. But let's be real here with each other, because both of you sit in these communities as leaders in your different communities. What happens to the religious leaders or clergymen who don't set the right example? Because we need to see consequences for that. And I think a lot of young people need to see the consequences for them to see that there's a punishment that comes with misbehaving. And those are the people who are misleading. If there are no consequences, then I think people will just feel this is just one institution that is as corrupt as any other. What are your thoughts on that? And what has been your experiences specifically on dealing with clergy who are not living up to their responsibilities?
I think it's a challenge we have, and not only in Kenya, but in the world, that the greatest gift that God has given mankind is the power of will to make decisions. I can be well grounded, but I reach a point and I want to deviate and move away from my faith. And by deviating, I begin to have another character. And I think that's the part that really brings confusion, because most of these people who later on change and they begin to take advantage of innocent, congregants, it is because they began well. But along the way, something happened, because the human nature is very selfish. It is me, myself, and I. And so you tend to think, how can I take advantage of these people? And by so doing, so many people have misled others. I've had people raped in the church, people sodomized in church. I've had people taken advantage of financially. People who gave out, they were told the Lord spoke, God spoke, and it was not so. And because this person does not know how to hear God's word, what this person tells them, they are manipulated. And because of that, later on when you come back to your senses, it gives you such a bitterness that why did I have to go this and this? I wish I knew this. But you see, we just like in any profession in the world, we always have good people and we always have bad people. We have people who are imposters. People will say they are sheikh and they are not sheikh. People will say they are pastors and bishops, but they are not. In the heart, they are not. But they want the title. And so these people who have the title and the heart is not a bishop, the heart is not a sheikh, these are the people that take advantage of them. And so discernment is very important. You need to have also discernment, because you shall know a person by their fruits. And the fruits are their actions. Because we have very good people who speak very well about something, but when you go to their personal life, their family, their husband, their wives, you find they are totally different people. And that now brings confusion from people who know you to be a spiritual leader. Yes, you're living contrary to the way you live. So that's another thing. So taking advantage of congregation, financially, emotionally. How many women have had sex with people they went to be prayed for? You went with a different, you went because your son is in drugs. But this person tells you, for God to hear, I need to sanctify you. You go, at the end of the day, women are the most gullible people, because they are so desperate to make sure that their husbands who have run away come back, and their children who are wayward also become well-behaved children.
I'd like you to hold there. Even you, Sheikh, as well. Let's just get a little bit of comments from our participants here on WhatsApp. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Greet Pastor and my beloved Sh.Abdullahi Juma Sahib from Suleiman in Kibet, Baringo. Thank you so much for tuning in. Also, somebody else here says they're very interested in what the panel has to say. Don't you think this generation will only come together under the umbrella of the Messiah? He says he's very interested in this conversation. It's called Samia. And then we do have Felix also, who says he's a high princess Wakio. Okay, that's beautiful. Always charming, well represented here in Ichaweri. Our parents are our second God. Why change denomination where they took me for baptism? Surely not me. So we're getting a lot of feedback from young people who are participating in this conversation. And one person here says, his name is Farouk. He says, I think one of the issues this young generation is facing is that most of our parents and teachers churches focused more on worldly success and less on religious successes.
Very true.
Both focus much on school performance, forgetting religious performance.
Very true.
Could this be true?
Yes, it's very true.
How can we change this narrative? How can we engage them better? These are people that we have raised with dialogue. And I remember I was having a conversation with Sheikh earlier on, and I was telling him we grew up in a generation where our parents said this is the direction we are going, and we wouldn't question. But then we are raising children who we are engaging in dialogue, so they're now questioning us and asking all these things. But are we prepared to respond to these things? And I think that's where knowledge comes in. Where is the disconnect, Sheikh?
Okay. We can say that, first of all, questioning in itself, if someone questions something with sincerity, then it is not a sign of weak faith.
Thank you.
So that one also the youth should understand, that even the elderly should know that when a person is questioning something with sincerity, then it is the duty of the person who has to explain to him, he has to guide him. And guidance needs love and also compassion. There should be love and compassion to guide these young people. But if we just leave them or put them away while they're asking questions, then automatically we shall lose the path. So the reality is that parents also have to play a great role in this, because they are raising the children since their birth till they become teenagers and so forth, till they grow up. So they have a lot of work a role to play in giving them what we call it good morals, and also make them better people in society, and also to try their best to remove that subconscious idea or mind that religion is just something like that. Maybe it is a scam. So my own understanding is that religion indeed is not a creation or a production of human imagination. It is exactly a plan ordained by God the Almighty. So if we can follow this channel properly and explain the people exactly what religion is there for and what are the benefits of religion and faith to them, then automatically these people will understand that religion is not just a scam. And that's why in the beginning we said that our deeds and our sayings should be in accord. They should not be separate. And another thing is that they should not be led astray through whatever is happening in the social media or in the, we can say, technological advancement which is taking place these days. So they should not be thrown on that side and forget about religion completely, which of course God the Almighty, especially in the Holy Quran, status is very clear that I have not created jinn and man but to worship me. They may worship God Almighty. So the purpose of our creation is to worship God Almighty. And after worshiping God Almighty, we can be able also to pay the rights of our fellow human beings. So this, I mean, our present generation it is very delicate, I mean, at the moment, very tender and very delicate. And we have to be very careful in explaining to them matters with regard to religion and faith.
I agree with you, Sheikh. A lot of explanation needs to be done, and it has to be very candid, because there is a feeling that religion kind of keeps quiet on real life situations. For instance, you know, when young people are questioning if this God is all-knowing and all-powerful, why is he allowing certain incidences to happen? You know, things like wars, things like droughts and famine, you know, things like some sort of crimes that happen, you know, when a 6-month-old baby has been molested by a relative. Why is that being allowed? And I think those are the questions that come in when they're trying to balance what to believe and what not to believe in. But I'm also curious about the real structures that we have in our institutions that allow for this kind of dialogue that we are talking about. Because for churches, I know on Sundays you would go to church and the pastor would be preaching. But what kind of environment are we creating to allow for these intimate dialogues? You talked about Bible studies, you talked about madrasa, but have they helped? What else needs to be done? Do we need to evolve with times as well? Does religion need to have a pro max of some sort to be able to fit in with the generations and the lifestyle changes that we're experiencing right now? I think those are many questions.
Wow.
Let's start with you, Sue.
I just want to echo what Sheikh has said, that because of the influence of the internet and the world becoming a global village, then there's a lot of borrowing, there's a lot of copycat, such that the young people want to do things the way Americans do, you South Africans do. There's a lot of copycat. People are not original. And when you have a lack of identity, and the best identity comes from God, you don't have a good foundation of your faith, then that's why you find yourself, being swayed from one thing to another. But I want to say again, I still want to go back to the parents. Parents play a very big role in the making of the faith of a child. Remember, this child is actually, you are the hero to the child. So whatever you tell this child and they see your conviction, that's what they're gonna follow. And so parents, we have a big role. But unfortunately, we have left everything to the teachers. We have left everything to their age mates. And so they tend to think that they don't need God because they have success. And success is in materialism. But there's that vacuum in a person. Most of the people who have committed suicide in this world are the most richest and the most known people. Why? There's a vacuum in a man that if you don't have a personal relationship with God, you still feel empty. You get that? Even people with money, people with whatever we may think we want to have it, destination sickness. I remember when I was a little girl, I used to say, the day I'll finish school and I'm employed and I'm working in a hospital treating the patient, I'll really feel contented. I am there now for almost over 30 years. I've never gotten contented. I said, if I get a children, get a husband, nitakuwa nimefika, sijawahi fika. So I said, oh God, when I buy a big car, build a big house, those things have come. I'm still not contented. So when you don't have, you tend to think what you don't have is your destination. When you get it, you find no, you are not still full. Why? The vacuum that we are talking about. There's a deity, there's a superpower that should lead your mind, lead your character, lead your way of talking. And I want to say that, as Sheikh is saying, religion shapes us. I don't think if it were not for Christianity, I think I would be a very toxic woman because of the environment that I grew in. But when I got the word, I found love, I found patience, kindness, and I started practicing small. And today I'm a totally changed person. So if I never got any knowledge that talked about who God is, then I don't think I would be today the woman I am. So much more as we wish to be rich and have all these good things, go have cars, Lamborghini, have a yacht, these things that are physical. Nothing. And I want to say absolutely nothing, Wakio, can satisfy a man if you don't have a personal relationship with God. And I'm saying this because I've lived many years and I know and I've met many people. There is always a vacuum. And so much more as our young people are saying, they don't know, they want to be, they're even not, it's like being atheist. They don't want to believe in any religion because they are more to science. Science is more things that you see. But remember, though we have never seen God, He exists. And why do all these evil things happen? Because of the disobedience of man. Remember, God has given man and woman the mandate to subdue, to dominate, to rule the world. So if you don't have God leading your mind, you can also do the opposite, depending with the influence that you have at the platform that God has given you.
Sheikh is now itching to add on to that.
And so it's very important. Oh, yes.
Okay. Also, we have to understand one thing also, that, apart from what we call curriculum teachings in madrasas, in, we can say, Sunday studies and so forth, there should be also activities, which of course in our community most of the time, the youths, the women folk, the youth folk, the men and the children, they are divided into sections whereby they participate in some activities apart from the learning activities, like say studying Quran and so forth. So religion is not just a matter of praying and reading Quran alone. It is wider than that. Therefore, we have activities. And these activities, when they are done in the proper manner, like football, playing and other things, chess and all these kind of indoor games, and meeting with youth meeting together, but in a proper cause, then you find that they mold each other, and when they grow up in a certain way whereby they understand their role to play in this world, because they are not just left like that. You see, they are being taught, they are being trained properly in such a way that when they grow up, they understand their affiliation with their community and the other people, because our motto also is love for all and hatred for none. Then we should have that inculcated into our children, into our society as a whole, not only for the Muslims and not for the Christians alone, but as a society. We should promote such things so that they should not think that it's only when I go to the theater there I can get peace. No, they should also find the same peace in their, praying premises. They should find peace.
I think the big question is, why are they not finding peace in these places where peace is supposed to be in abundance? And I think maybe let's try and expound more a little bit of what are your thoughts on young people who feel like the rules within communities of faith-based are a bit restrictive, that there's no freedom, there's you have to do this for you to do this, you have to do that for you to get that. What do you say about their thoughts on the laws or the regulations or restrictions that come with different faith? Do you think that's also a contributing factor?
Well, it is not. It is a contributing factor, we can say, but the other aspect is that, when you raise up a person or a child, you see, you have to raise him in a certain way that he should understand exactly the in and outs of what he believes. So we are not saying that these people, as a human being, it is nature in a human being that sometimes is being drifted from the right course. And it is the work of the missionaries or the clergy to always bring them back. Because man is tempted in one way or the other. And that's why guidelines have been given that if you move in such a way, then automatically you will be successful in your life. So if you find, like a child, if you find a child putting his hand on trying to catch a coal which is burning, you will not allow that child to do so. You cannot allow, if you see this is poison, you cannot tell the child, just go on, drink it. You have to refuse. So as far as religious matters are concerned, these are not man-made laws. They are ordained by God. And because God knows more than us, the wisdom behind it, that's why he has refused us to do such and such a thing. This is for our own betterment. So if we allow that whatever they think is good for them, we should leave them to do, then automatically it's just like, seeing a person is trying to fall into a ditch and then you don't want to save him, you just leave him to do whatever he wants.
Wow.
So that is not the way to follow, the way to go.
Yeah. There's lots of comments that are coming in, and I would like to share a few so that we can make a comment about what people are saying on our social media. Sarah Peterson says, because at this adult age, we have exposure. We can see clearly and we can think without being manipulated. He says our parents did not get exposure, and that's why they never questioned religion and they were scared of being crucified. And Mike says, for me, it's disunity among the believers. Then Wanyonyi also says, kutafuta miujiza. I don't know what he means by that, but for Lencia says, when you will know the truth, it will set you free. We are slowly and eventually knowing the truth. We'd like to know what truth that is for you. Evans K.E. says, when you examine the scriptures and realize that the teachings of the faith does not reflect in the Bible. And some people are also saying that when you realize that it's all not adding up. Somebody else here says the love of money, and money is the root of all evil. And finally, there are too many comments, but thank you so much for participating in this conversation. Someone says individual growth in skepticism and improvement in critical thinking. Any thoughts in some of the comments that we have shared?
I think we need to admit that to some extent we have failed as the church leaders by not setting a good example to our young people. And so they lack a mentor. They lack sometimes role models they can look up to. And I'm not saying every one of us is like that, but there are a few people have really deviated out of faith, and because of their character, taking advantage of vulnerable people, that has brought a lot of bitterness and anger and frustration for some of the people who fall the religions. And so I think it's a call and a wake up. I don't know how we are going to do it. I hear the government saying that most of these, like the churches, people need to be trained. But you can train someone, but if their heart is not well trained by the belief, they still will continue with the mess. And even the mess becomes worse. For someone who is even more educated and not willing even to change, the mess can even become, because he will do it with his intellectualism or her intellectualism. And so it's an issue of us knowing that there's a generation we need to protect. When you are generational, you live beyond yourself. You want to leave prints that can be followed, a character that can be followed. I keep saying, even if I don't influence other people, let me influence my children first, because charity begins at home. And so you find even most of the children, the reason why they are saying even they fear marriage is because of what they have seen the father and the mother doing to each other. And that has brought now the issue of LGBTQ. You find most of these children will tell you, me, I don't want to marry a man because I saw what my mother went through. I don't want to marry a girl because I saw what my father went through. So these things, most of these things come from home. When a child is well taught the right principles that makes the human being to be complete, spirit, soul, and body, that child might not deviate. Even when they deviate, they will still come back. Why? The role model is their dad. The role model is their mom. And so what they get from outside does not so much compliment them and give them direction like what the parents did during the first the first foundation. I'm talking of 4 years to 12 years. When the children get into teenage, we are no longer their heroes. They really want to follow their peers. But if this child does not have a good foundation, then they are likely to deviate. And that's the challenge that we have.
What I'm hearing is monkey see, monkey do.
Thank
that's
you.
What and
wow, I
now
love
I'd
that.
like to put you on the spot, Sheikh.
Yes,
has there been a season in your life, we're just about to wrap up, has there been a season where you've also battled with doubt yourself?
There was a time, we read a lot of theological books and so forth. So once a time while I was still in school, in the university, I was thinking a lot about religion, how it is, what is the importance of it. And also in the Ahmadiyya community of Islam, we have a spiritual leader who is known as Mirza Ghulam Ahmad al-Islam. So he put in front of the people that, Jesus traveled to Kashmir in India after the crucifixion and so forth. But I was doubting about this. Then at a moment, one night, I got a dream and I saw myself walking in front. Jesus, and a voice came and said, the Jesus you are doubting about is in front of you. And he was wearing very clean clothes, and he was putting on his, it was a wonderful dream. And from that day, I came to realize that these godly people, what they say is always correct.
Wow, I wish we had more time to continue this conversation. Thank you so much, Sheikh, and thank you so much, Pastor Sue, for joining us in this conversation. And thank you, too, for participating on our social media and also sending your questions on WhatsApp. This has been quite insightful. And I think this conversation should keep going also on our socials. We will make sure that our panelists here are able to get some of the questions that you're asking so that we can attempt help you to get those answers as well. But I think it's very clear. Seek and you shall find. Knock the door and it shall be opened. Don't sit around and wait for knowledge to come to you. Go out there and seek that knowledge, and hopefully that will help you to have more understanding and the faith that you have either inherited, growing up with, or you've chosen for yourself. For myself here and our sign language interpreter who already left is Catherine Simaloy. I want to wish everybody a good night. Up next is Tribe 47, so get ready for a good time. DJ DeWiz, take it away.